Western North Carolina just got devastated by Hurricane Helene. But how did it happen here? The Blue Ridge Mountains of Western North Carolina has long been considered a safe haven for preppers and homesteaders, which just goes to show you that there are no places that are truly safe all of the time, and why we all need to remain vigilant about our preparedness.
The smarter way to go solar.
All right, now in today's video, we're talking about emergency preparedness, and we're titling this video, We're All Preppers Now. You know, I was just as surprised as anybody that Western North Carolina, the Blue Ridge Mountain areas, got hit and was affected so badly by Hurricane Helene. Now, I can tell you, among the prepper community, Western North Carolina, the Blue Ridge Mountains, this is an area that has been considered for a long time as a safe haven area and really a desirable location to move if you are building a survival retreat or you're building a home with the intention of surviving some major catastrophic event, including a loss of the electric grid. In fact, I was personally involved in several projects installing solar and battery backup systems for homeowners that were building survival retreats in this area. And it's really not an area that you really think of in terms of a hurricane threat. You know, where I live right now in Myrtle Beach in coastal North Carolina or coastal South Carolina, yes, we do consider this a high hurricane threat area, and it's something that we're prepared for here. But in Western North Carolina and the Blue Ridge, it's just not something that they're accustomed to dealing with. The rain, the flooding, and you can see the results were catastrophic. Now, most of you who know me and most of you who've been following the channel for a while, you know that the reason that I got into solar power in the first place was for emergency preparedness reasons. In fact, for the first 4 or 5 years, the systems that we were installing didn't have any interactivity with the utility grid at all. These were purely off-grid systems that were used for emergency backup purposes in place of a fuel burning generator, or in some cases, the property was built completely off-grid where there just was no access to utility power, and so the solar and the batteries and maybe a fuel burning generator to back up the batteries, that was the only power source that the home had available. So that's really why I got interested in solar. It's why I believe in it, and frankly, still why I believe in it, and why people need to be as energy independent as possible so that they can be as self-sufficient as possible so that they're better able to endure a disruption of services or a disruption of our lifestyle. Now, why do people look at solar and battery backup instead of a traditional generator for an emergency power source? Well, solar and battery backup has a few major advantages, but the one is it is truly a renewable solution. So once the initial investment is made, once the solar panels are put in place, once the batteries are put in place, that system will continue to renew itself day after day after day. As opposed to a fuel burning generator, well, you need the fuel. And where are you going to get the fuel if this is what your roads look like? So you can store fuel, and that'll give you some amount of running time depending on how much fuel you store, but it's not really a practical long-term solution, especially if you're preparing for a major disruption of services or major disruption of society where the gas stations may not be open, or if you have a propane generator, the propane company might not be available to refuel you. The other advantage with a solar and battery backup system is that there are no moving parts to wear out or break down. So whereas where you have an internal combustion engine based generator, that generator has moving parts, so those parts need to be maintained. You have to do things like change the engine oil, change the spark plugs, air filters. All of that adds to the total cost of ownership over the lifetime of the solution. And again, it's just more things that could go wrong in an emergency when you need that system to perform for you. And then finally, the other major advantage is that you have physical custody of the entire energy generation system on your own property. So in other words, there's no third-party risk, there's no counterparty risk. You're not depending on the gas company, the propane company, or anything else outside of your property. Everything there can be in your physical custody on your property. And again, the system's renewable. So day in, day out, solar panels charge the batteries. You can run the batteries on nighttime to power the home. The next day, the solar panels take over and recharge the batteries. And you can repeat that cycle for weeks, months, or even years at a time without needing any outside input from anybody else.
Just a quick word from our sponsor, Generac.
If you're looking for an all-in-one solar and energy management system, then you need to take a look at the new Generac PowerCell 2.
PowerCell 2 gives you total control of your home's energy system, incorporating solar power, whole house backup, intelligent load control, and generator support seamlessly integrated on a single platform. PowerCell 2 uses an AC-coupled architecture to facilitate ease of installation for new systems and retrofitting battery storage to existing solar homes.
So if you'd like to learn more information, then go to the PowerCell website or click the link in the description below so you can get in touch with an installer right away. Now, for those of you who want maximum redundancy, you may want to look at a solar power system that allows you to tie in a fuel burning generator as a backup to the batteries. So in this case, the way it would work is if you lost utility power, immediately the battery would kick in to provide secure power into the home. But if the battery began to drain down too low, faster than the solar panels could recharge it, you could then have the option of firing up a fuel burning generator. While the generator's running, it would be powering the house, but also recharging your batteries so that once you bring your batteries back full, you can then go back to running off solar and battery power. So that type of configuration gives you max redundancy and really helps you stretch your fuel supply. So instead of running the generator, let's say 24 hours to power the home for a 24-hour period, if the system is sized properly, you could just run your generator for 4 hours. That would be enough to get your batteries back to a full state of charge, and then you could run another 24 hours off the battery. So it really helps you stretch your fuel supply. It also helps you avoid drawing more attention to yourself, making a lot of unnecessary noise, and having to listen to a generator running all night long. So if you have a fully integrated solar with battery, with generators backing up the battery system, again, it gives you better protection and I think better overall quality of life in terms of having to survive a grid down event. But many of you are probably wondering, does solar even work during a hurricane? Well, first of all, I want to explain how solar panels are attached to the roof, because I think there's some confusion about this. Some people think, well, if you got high winds like hurricane force winds, solar panels are just going to blow off anyway. The reality is when you install solar on a home, assuming you're doing a professionally installed code compliant installation, the solar panels themselves have to be built to the same wind rating, the same building code as the building itself. So if you're in a high wind zone area, like let's say coastal Florida, let's say the home and the roof has to be built to 120 or 130 mile an hour wind rating. Well, if you're going to install solar panels on that roof, they also have to be installed to meet that same wind rating, right? And these are then, again, these are fully engineered, very detailed engineered systems of how the solar panel racking system interfaces with the roof rafter or whatever the roof structural supports are to make sure that the entire system meets the necessary wind rating, which basically means as long as the roof stays on that house, the solar panels are going to stay on that roof. Now, another question you might have is, well, Joe, if the weather's bad, are the solar panels even producing any power? And the truth of the matter is, on an overcast day, you are going to have less energy production than you will on a bright sunny day. But even on a cloudy, overcast day, your solar panels can still output about 30% of their peak rated power. Meaning that even if you're still in the middle of a hurricane or right in that immediate aftermath of a hurricane and you still have overcast weather, your solar panels can still harvest additional energy to be used to charge your batteries. And of course, if you had your system set up for backup power, you should be entering the hurricane with a fully charged battery anyway, which means that you should have at least, assuming the system was sized properly, you should have at least 24 hours of runtime just off of what's stored in the battery already, even with no solar energy coming in. Now, another question you might have is, well, what about the batteries? Are the batteries waterproof, or if you have flooding, is that going to damage or short circuit the batteries? And the answer is, it really depends. Now, as many of you know who have been following the channel for a while, you know that there are dozens and dozens of new batteries that have come onto the market in the past 18 months. And there's really like 2 or 3 categories of batteries as well. You have your professionally fully installed batteries where you would go to have a solar contractor do it. So these would be batteries like Tesla Powerwall 3, Point Guard home battery, the Franklin whole home battery. These batteries are outdoor rated. They're designed to operate in a wet location. They can be installed outside the home, rain, snow, it doesn't matter. The batteries can operate in that environment. Now, of course, they shouldn't be totally submerged, but they can tolerate wet location, right? They're rated to operate in a wet location. Now, there's also a new category, what I would call more the direct-to-consumer all-in-one solar and battery systems. Think the EcoFlow Delta Pro Ultra or the Bluetti EP800, which we've covered before. These battery systems are great, but those are not outdoor rated systems. So typically, if you're installing one of those systems, you're gonna have your inverter and your battery stack somewhere in a weather-protected location, typically in your garage or maybe in your basement near where your electrical panel is. But those batteries are not gonna be tolerant of wet locations. So if your garage gets flooded, those systems may short circuit and fail. And then of course you have your pure DIY modular systems where maybe you're buying a separate battery, separate inverter, separate charge controller, and kind of piecing all that together. Systems like that are kind of going out of fashion now, where I think where the technology is taking us is the factory integrated all-in-one solar battery inverter systems like EcoFlow and Blue Eddy and Anchor. But for those modular DIY systems, a lot of those systems are still out there. But similar to the direct-to-consumer all-in-ones, they're typically not going to give you any sort of weatherproof or waterproof enclosure. So if you're looking for a solar power system that can truly protect you in an extreme weather environment where you have flooding or extreme rain, then you're probably going to want to opt towards one of those outdoor-rated, professionally installed batteries like Tesla Point Guard or Franklin Whole Home. By the way, folks, we're working on a system here at Solar Surge that's going to allow you to design, build, and purchase your solar power system all online using our app. So if you don't want to have to deal with a solar contractor directly or don't want to have to deal with a solar salesman, we're going to have a solution for that very soon. So make sure you stay tuned to the channel. We'll have more information on that coming up. Of course, if you are in the process of looking at different solar power and battery backup options for your home, if you need to get a price quote, or maybe you already have a couple of price quotes, you just need to get a comparison price quote from a reliable contractor in your area to make sure that you're getting the right equipment, getting the best deal. As always, you can reach out to us on the link below here. Either set up a call with a Solar Surge expert or just use the free online quote tool so you can see how much solar and battery storage costs in your area. Of course, if you're getting good values from the videos that you watch on the channel, make sure you give us a thumbs up and go ahead and subscribe to the channel as well if you haven't done so already. That way, as we have new videos like this coming out, it'll come up on your feed so you can stay up to date with us. Well, I thank you all for spending some more time on the Solar Surge channel. And as always, I'm Joe Ordia here, encouraging you to get prepared and be empowered. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again soon.